Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Gaming to the Max, and the start of a new series on the channel, Hearts of Iron 4 Kaiserreich, the German Empire. That's right, we are playing Germany in this Kaiserreich campaign. There was a new update in Kaiserreich. Now it's Kaiserreich 1.0.2, The Empire Strikes Back. They actually have a new patch for the German Empire. So we will be going through the tree and seeing how we were wanting to play. A little bit of the start out where our leader is Wilhelm II, Kaiser of the Old World. He gives us 15% stability and AI modifier focus on defense plus 25%. Reigning as the King of Prussia and the German Emperor since 1888, Wilhelm II has earned the respect of the world in spite of his far from positive beginnings, and German hegemony since the end of the Weltkrieg has become indistinguishable from his persona. Taught, resilient, and irresolute, fiercely rejecting the desires of his mother Victoria to groom him into a liberal British aristocrat, yet never fully shaking off these habits. Wilhelm ascended to the imperial throne at the age of 29. His reign was one of the bellicose new course, culminating in aggressive Weltpolitik of feuds and conflicts with almost every one of his chancellors and of diplomatic blunders, which isolated Germany in the world affairs before the start of the Weltkrieg. In spite of the lackluster start, Wilhelm slowly gained the experience, or at least tried to temper his most irrational tendencies, especially after the Daily Telegraph affair of 1908. Though Wilhelm was never a reformist, he equally despised being shut out of the political affairs by the clique gathered around Paul von Hindenburg and Erich Ludendorff during the Weltkrieg, and tactically aligned with forces opposing their developing dictatorship at the war's end. Victory in the Weltkrieg vindicated that the Kaiser's imperialistic course erased his past blunders from public memory and allowed him to break down dictatorship of the two generals. Germany has since returned to normalcy, serving as the last anchor of the old world in a planet increasingly overtaken by revolt and revolutions. By now, the Kaiser is almost 80 years old and has ruled Germany for over half of those years. The youthful years of blunt interference in politics and xenophobic babbling in the press are past him. Wilhelm has been largely passive in German politics for well over a decade, expressing his will to a circle of advisors and the aid of the Crown Prince. However, he remains a symbol of Germany's victory, ambition, and dignity. A little bit about Wilhelm II here in the mod. So we start out with a March Coalition von Dickerson's cabinet. He leads a minority government, or Herbert von Dickerson cabinet leads a minority government in the Reichstag, composed of Zentrum Economic Party and DKP representatives. Also, the so-called permanent opposition, the SPD and the DVLP, have also been biding their time to overturn the post-war March Coalition status quo. The Reichskanzler chance of surviving the next elections are null. We start out with March leads to April, which gives us negative 75% political power gain and a negative 0.5% weekly stability. That is horrible. You guys can read that. And then we've got Victory of the Weltkrieg, or Victors of the Weltkrieg. Army experience gain negative 75%. Naval and air experience gain negative 75%. And daily command power gain multiplier negative 50%. And then we have the Christmas spike. Consumer good factories at negative 30%. And construction speed plus 25%. So that's our only positive that we have. So that's not that great. So we will select country, and it looks like we have another one. We'll look at it when we load in, and we will load in. So I know that we talked about doing a Norway campaign. That is still on. It'll be after this campaign in Kaiserreich. I absolutely love Kaiserreich. This is my favorite mod out of all of them. So there will be, of course, more to come with this. Fighting a land war in Asia. You guys can hear my headphones adjusting. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get it down to the the right. All right, so the place in the sun. If you guys would like to read this. All right, and then you have path guides. We can reveal or how to play. And then the credits, of course. So we'll just hit continue. All right, so the Germans start out with a huge military. Well, not huge, but 73 divisions is quite a bit to start out with. So we'll get them situated here in a little bit. We have Flanders, Wallonia, with Eldebert the First in charge. We have Poland with August the Fourth in charge. We have the Kingdom of Lithuania, the United Baltic Duchies, White Ruthenia, and Ukrainian state as part of the Reichspakt. We also have Middle Africa, and we have a German East Asia. These two are puppets, and the rest are just allies. So let's go into our research, go over to our industry. We'll get our industry started working on that one, and we have one more, which we are going to get synthetic refineries started researching. The only thing we can do right now is sell Polish holdings or pro-Polish monarchist campaign there for the Polish monarchy. But let's start out our focus tree. Let's see what we've got. That one we can't do yet. And that's the rest. All right, so we'll do Masters of the World. Adds Weltpolitik, which grants guaranteed cost negative 25% and max volunteer force divisions +2. Enables decisions hold a summit for peace. The Weltkrieg and the British Revolution made one fact known: we have risen to the peak of our power and influence, and it is lonely at the top. We, the masters of the world, have earned the place in the sun we deserve, and our duty today is to defend it. Enemies far and wide seek to topple the German eagle, so we must always strike back. Let us start out. Get up to 4 times speed. We got, let's do this. Consumer factories. Let's get them cranking. We've got quite a few. I want to build some more. Build us a couple mill factories. Let's see, missing production, transport plane, and bombers. Let's see. Not 100% sure what we are building transport planes for, but let's do the multi-role. And what did it say? Naval bombers. And do Simmons Schutkirk. Let's get those queued up. Right now we're building mostly BF 109s, G87s, and HE 1100s. We've got quite a few boats being built. We'll get these done, and then we'll look at to build something else in our Navy. And let's see, we've got some interwar medium tanks, some light tanks. All right, let's add military industrial organizations to it. So Mauser for our infantry equipment, Rheinmetall, yeah, for our artillery, Deutsches Waffen- und Munitionfabriken, Opel for our automotive. We'll do that's medium and light. You get 5% armor, less speed. That's cheaper production, but less armor and less defense. For the light tanks, we'll do Krupp. For the medium tanks, we'll do Deminer, just production output. For boats, let's do Raiders. Nah, let's do Wilhelmshavenwerth. Now, if I butcher these names, I do apologize. I do not speak German fluently at all, but I will try my absolute hardest to do well. We will actually probably go with Blom and Vos. Alright, BF 109s. We'll do Focke-Wulf. With you guys, we'll do Junkers. And with you, we'll do Dornier. Alright. With that, let's start up. Sorry. Had to do that real quick. We are not getting any political power. We've got negative 44. Negative 0.44 a day. Our national spirits, like I read, we had March leads to April, victors of the Blitzkrieg. We have assassination of Alexander Kerensky over in Russia. Voting rights in the Legation Council. We get some political power. We've got Deutsches Weltkrieg, or no, Weltreich, sorry. Deutsches Weltreich. Surrender limit plus 10%, negative 20% war support, and trade deal opinion factors 100%. We have Christmas spike, which I already read. Fruits of the open door. We've got resource gain efficiency plus 5%, construction speed plus 5%, factory output plus 5%, and then we have, of course, members of the Mitteleuropa. Aftermaths of the assassinations. Shots fired in the streets of Moscow yesterday marked the first unexpected event this year, and has struck Germany directly, as in their aftermath, the German ambassador in Moscow, Friedrich Werner von der Schutzenberg, received an invitation from the Russian Minister of Foreign Affairs to negotiate on the future of Russo-German relations. The upcoming expiry of the Vilnius Agreement and the fate of the large German investments in Russia were the main topics of discussion. However, the contents of the Russian notes were leaked to the press by a clerk in the embassy, and instantly embellished with secondhand rumors and fearmongering about planned nationalizations of German investments or possibly even a road to war. So how could Russia be a threat to Germany again? Game-based stability, minus 10%. Yay! So who took over? Boris Sonakov. A terrorist, a violent madman, and a murderer. Uh-oh. Alright. Reichstag Wall, 1936. One after another, moderate chancellors perpetuating the consensus of the March Constitution have ruled the Kaiserreich since 1920. Solf, Erzberg, Pozdowski, Brodok, Rotstu, Marx, Bernström. That does not mean that there has been no opposition to this consensus. However, permanent opposition to parties which, in spite of their popularity, have been left out, eyed with suspicion of the Kaiser and the political establishment. They have awaited the ends of this consensus with glee. The election of 1936 may prove to be what they wanted for so long, a path to power. On the left, the Social Democrats have been one of the main champions of the March reforms and took it as a victory, yet grew increasingly estranged with their allies in the center during the 1920s. The dreams of an SPD chancellor never came about due to the Kaiser's reluctance, and the end of Brockerdorf's Grand Coalition saw the SPD finally move to the opposition. Plurality in the Reichstag is their priority, but so is dealing with the worrying growth of the right. If the conservatives take advantage of the fall of the March coalition, the democratic rights which German people finally gained in 1920 may fall under threat. The German Fatherland Party is a party of new breed of the right, not the agrarian autocracy of the DKP or the petty one-note politics of the pre-war anti-Semitism party, but a party of the radical middle class, the yellow workers, and the nationalist masses. Officially established in 1919, but born in 1917 as an all-national organization, campaigning for wartime unity, due to its connection with the Tripitz Circle, the OHL dictatorship, and the secret plots to overthrow the Kaiser during the war, is eyed with suspicions by everyone, be it Wilhelm II and the other parties, but times have changed, and disappointment with the March coalition can easily benefit the DVLP. Not powerful enough to achieve a majority itself, it'll need to build a grand coalition of the right, which will mean compromising some of their national revolutionary principles, but a step forward is better than no step at all, right? I don't want to play as either one of them, but we will probably do the DVLP. We're not going to go with the Social Democrats. Not crazy excited about the National Populist either, but we will like to stay with a monarchy. So it appears unlikely that we'll be able to gather a majority outright, but remember the election is just the beginning. I like to say with the conservative middle, but let's see. Oh, here's this. You are allowed to take a total of 3 of the unlocked campaign decisions. The Conservatives and the Fatherland Party are the 2 hegemons of the right, and it's become increasingly certain they will need to cooperate, if not even unite, to bring the Germans right back to power. For now, however, we can begin constructing our alliance to a pack of runoff support. Should one of our candidates get to the second round in the constituency, both parties will endorse them to ensure the right-wing voters turn out for them. DKP will win 3 additional seats in the Reichstag, and DVLP will earn 2. We will choose that. And we'll probably do endorse right Zentrum candidates in Westphalia. Catholics, one of our 2 great competitors, may be a threat or a potential ally depending on the composition of the Reichstag. However, we should be most interested in their right-wing, rural, conservative, aristocratic, authoritarian. They should become a crucial ally for us should we tactfully endorse them. So Zentrum gains 2, Hungarian candidates gain 1, and the DVLP will earn 2. And then our predecessors, the scattered anti-Semitism party, have historically held numerous constituencies in Hesse, and its national rural population can be swayed to our side, overcoming the local liberals and the socialists. We can strengthen our base. Probably won't do that. It's probably the 2 I'll choose for right now. .200 seats are required. 223 seats are required for a majority. The projected results are as follows. We'll have 17 for the minority bloc. We'll have 100 for Zentrum. We'll have 7 for the Hungarian candidates. 53 for the DKP. 69 for the DVLP. And 3 for the far-right candidates. All right. Masters of the World, we have the Totalist Charter. We can expand colonial budgets. We can renew the Treaty of Metz, buying time with spies. We can do Ostval. United Baltic Duchies, Ukrainian State, and White Ruthenia get International Eastern Fortification Council and add German finance of the Ostval, which grants land for construction plead plus 10%, enables 4 decisions. We can do the Pritz Plan. What's this about? Ambassador of the United States, Frederick von Pritzwitz und Goffrin, has noted the deplorable economic and social situation in America and has predicted that vast conflict may break out across the Union soon if nothing is done to stop it. For that, he has drafted a plan for an interest-free loan to the United States, which will aid their economic recovery and curtail socialist growth. So they get the Pritzwitz plan, which is consumer good factories -5%, production efficiency cap 5%, and factory output 5%. They get pleased with us. The Socialist Party of America loses political power, and we gain pleased by us. We won't do it just yet. Can't do that. I'm just trying to see what we can actually do in our focus tree right now. Can't do military reforms. That's fine. Can't do that. We can do buying time with our spies. Can't do that. Can't do that. We can finance the colonies, but boy, that hurts us pretty bad. Let's see. Sorry, y'all. I'm just trying to get a feel for what I'm trying to do in this campaign. So let's do the Pruitt's plan. 21 days. gives us some relations with the United States. We can hold a summit for peace, which has world tension decreased by 2%, or 2. It's only at 1.9. So, Kornilov crushes anti-Sovnikov revolt. Massive protests in Moscow and the other Russian cities proved to be too much for Sovnikov to handle, so he called in General Laver Kornilov to quell the protest. In the ensuing violence, the streets of Moscow ran red with blood, but Kornilov's forces ultimately prevailed. So Sovnikov ordered his marshal to kill off the protesters. Alright. We'll look at our infantry. So we have some motorized. Our Panzer divisions. We've got 10 years after the intervention. For the past months, the Berlin Stock Exchange has been in a volatile plateau, and some voices, such as Walter von Rathenow, have already predicted an impending stock market crash, though others are skeptic of such doomsaying. Still, sense of unease permeates the markets, and trading volumes are relatively subdued. Until now, when a 1-2 punch dealt a second severe blow to the stability in the stock market after forced audits by the Reichswirtschaftsdamt, Imperial Economic Office, numerous instances of fraud have been revealed among companies operating in German East Asia. The deplorable finances of their eastern branches were being hidden by fudging numbers, and the same fudging was used to avoid taxes. Just in time when a retired official from German East Asia, Franz Bruninghaus, published a piece in the Berliner Tagblatt titled 10 Years After the Intervention, referring to a German intervention in China with an expeditionary forces to topple the Kuomintang's northern expedition. It's an alarmist piece describing the failure and form of German foreign policy in East Asia, and stating that the instability in the League of Eight Provinces is the fuse which will set off an explosion of socialist and anti-concessionist revolts in China, threatening all German investments in China. For a market whose stability is already wobbling, this is not good news to wake up to. Investors began pulled out of affected companies in droves, causing a dip in overall stock price. A flurry in trading of German government bonds occurred as exposed investors needed liquidity sold to them other less exposed institutions seeking stabler investments. If this continues, it could lead to a great stock market crash in German history. But what could be done to stop it? Negative 5% stability. We got Panzer divisions, some Jager divisions, and I've seen a Marine Sturm division. Alright. There's some cavalry divisions we'll throw in with our motorized. We'll take a couple of you. And we'll take 5 of you. We'll take one more. Alright. Split these guys up under 2 field marshals. The first field marshal will be Gerhard von Rudenstedt. And we'll have Erich von Manstein and Erwin von Witzelben. Over here against France, we'll put Gunther von Klutnow, Albert von Moccasin. We will put Kurt von Hammerstein Acquired. You will get Albert Kessering. Panzer divisions will go with him under Gunther von Klug. And our Mountaineers will go under Nicholas von Flockenhorst. He'll go with him, and the 1 Marine division will be fine as it is. And this small force will go over here on the Russian border. Alright. We got an operative that can be recruited. We got master soldier, military background, and counterintelligence. A master saboteur, capture cipher, sabotage risk. Let's use. Let's get you master Joseph Jacobs or Jacobs. All right, continue on. Impasse in the Reichstag. In the Frankfurter Zeitung, Walter von Rathenow has repeated his call for action, demanding the government to impose a week-long temporary bank holiday from Monday, February 3rd onwards, which would take the heat off the overheated market and allow tensions in the air to cease. News of this proposal reached the president of the Reichsbank, Hjalmar Schacht, who forwarded the proposition to Chancellor Herbert von Dirksen. The two politicians thus spent the weekend trying to organize an emergency response to an impending economic collapse. Meeting the leaders of the Reichstag parties on Saturday was fruitless, however. Through the parliamentary leaders all agreed that the situation is very tense. They disagreed on the specifics, and ultimately the two largest opposition leaders, Hermann Mueller of the SPD and Ulrich von Hassel of the DVLP, were anticipating an economic downfall, as the blame for it would fall not upon them but upon the LVP, Centrum, and the Chancellor. In the end, stating that getting a few plutocrat bankrupt might just leave Germany better off, Mueller accused the March coalition of creating the conditions for the crash in the first place and ended the meeting. Desperate and disheartened by political impasse, Schatz chose to act independently. On Sunday, the Reichsbanks published a note declaring that access to credit with the Reichsbanks will henceforth be based on their primary coverage ratio, and temporarily suspended the Reichsmark's convertibility to gold. His goal was to bring long-term stability to the market by minimizing damage done to the banks in a stock market crash, but on the last day before Monday, it has sown terror in the market and neutered the role of the Reichsbank as a lender of last resorts. Let's hope Monday brings good news. Negative 5% stability and negative 75 political power. If you guys don't want me to read those, I won't in the next episode. But if you guys don't mind and it doesn't bother you, then I will continue to read them. We have the 5th Anglo-Afghani War. Who cares about Afghanistan? And Black Monday. On the 3rd of February 1936, the Berlin Stock Exchange stopped sinking. It plunged. Fueled by the instability of the market, panic selling erupted as soon as the stock market opened on Monday morning. It took well into the night for the teleprinters to stop sputtering out the results of what became known as Black Monday. When the results had been analyzed, it was clear the situation had only got worse. The shock of this unprecedented economic catastrophe will no doubt be felt over the entire world. The German Golden Age has ended for now, at least. Mein Gott, which is Mein Gott in German. World tension increased by 4. Gain base stability, negative 40%, which we're already at 40. Replace Christmas spike with Black Monday, effective change. Consumer good factories plus 80%. Construction speed, negative 40%. Production efficiency cap, negative 15%. And factory output, negative 15%. The SPD earns 10 additional seats in the Reichstag election, and the DVLP will also earn 10. Oh, I didn't even want to hit that. Oh, that makes you sick. There it is right there, Black Monday. Ooh. Now we have the death of Wilhelm Solf. Amid the chaos of the recent market crash, the death of former Reichschancellor Wilhelm Solf has been barely taken notice of by most of the German people. Solf has succumbed to a bad case of pneumonia this morning at age 73 and leaves behind an enormous political legacy. Barely anyone else has had a lasting influence on domestic, foreign, and especially colonial affairs in the time period between 1911 and 1923. It was Solf who continued what Bernhard Dernberg started in the newly created colonial office in the mid-1900s and transformed the German colonial empire into the most modern on the earth. It was Solf who fought against annexation hardliners during the war and advocated for a fair but honorable peace treaty of compromise. It was Solf who led the first parliamentary, democratically elected government after the end of the war, and it was Solf who tried to put an end to the decades of Anglo-German hostilities with his famous Rosen mission in 1921, albeit sadly without success. Even after his resignation in 1922, Solf remained active in democratic liberal circles and shaped a whole generation of reformist-minded colonial officials, many of whom still have far-reaching influence in the colonies, like Hermann Sabbath in East Asia. Despite all this, his fairly progressive views made him powerful enemies in the conservative conservative-minded imperial political elite, especially the reactionary colonial society. But on this sad day, even his old adversaries prefer to remain silent and pay tribute to one of the most influential statesmen in recent German history. An honorable but flawed man who served a flawed system. Gain base stability plus 2%. The Federalist Bloc. Finding themselves under increased greater competition, Zentrum branches in competitive regions such as Silesia, Westphalia, and Hanover have been struggling to maintain their ground against popular social, democrat, and right-wing candidates. To alleviate this disparity, Ventrum candidates and party branches have begun independently making deals with local parties to unite behind a common candidate in competitive districts and thus increase their chance of victory. In Hanover, Ventrum has renewed its historical cooperation with the German Hanoverian Party, commonly known as the Guelph Party, or Wilfen, a regional political party created after the annexation of the Kingdom of Hanover. It generally sat with Zentrum in the pre-war Reichstag. However, the post-war years have seen it experience a sharp decline. The Guelph Conservative Federation has struggled in the post-war environment, and losing their last lease of life might just prove to be the end of the party. On the other side of the empire, Zentrum members in Posen have begun expanding their collaboration with Polish autonomists, especially those closer to the CHZJN in Poland proper. Unlike in Hanover, the Polish ethnic constituency has not lost its potency, although it still needs to compete with the anti-Polish electoral pacts in mixed constituencies. For them, most like for the Welfen, Zentrum is a natural ally, as they are both ideologically conservative and concerned with maintaining the federal model of the state, with hope of decentralizing it further. Against centralist encroachment from the left and the right alike, not everyone in Zentrum subscribes to the idea of tagging along with a flock of weak minor parties, however. Alright, so support these pack. Zentrum defends federalism. You got Zentrum earns 2 additional seats, Guelph earns 1, and the minority bloc earns 1, and we do not need them to hold our ground. Zentrum will earn 3, and Guelph will earn 5. So there's the minority block. They can earn 1. Guelph will earn 1. Zentrum will earn 2, or you get 3 and 5. Let's support these packs. Escalation, the economic crash every 10 days. The effects of the economic crisis triggered by the Black Monday market crash will escalate until it finally reaches the lowest plateau. Collapse of the Donata Bank. The Dorkmastada und National Bank is the first major casualty of the Black Monday financial crisis. The second largest bank in the German Empire, it went deep into high-risk loans prior to 1936, offering quick and easy loans to would-be stockbrokers and growing companies, and now reaps the consequences. One of the companies which has been severely indebted to the Donata Bank was Norddeutsches Wollkammer and Kammergartenspinnerie Nordwool, a wool and worsted processing plant in Delmenhorst, much like hundreds of other companies that announced the bankruptcy in the aftermath of the crash, having barely stayed afloat for the past several years and finally receiving the final blow which made the plant insolvent. News of Nordwool's bankruptcy caused a bank run on DataBank, as many other investors were fearful of the bank's future and rapidly pulled their savings while they still can get their money's worth. As DataBank had failed to reach its primary coverage ratio for the past several years due to its speculative loaning practices, it cannot be saved by the Reichsbank in this moment of crisis, and so its focus declared bankruptcy as well. The collapse of this old and respected bank has sent terrifying tremors across the German banking system. Across the empire, investors and citizens alike are withdrawing their savings and retreating from the market. Banks are collapsing one after another, caught completely unprepared by the enormous crash, and the financial system of the empire is left completely crippled. This is a nightmare. Gain base stability negative 8%, political power negative 50%, and without any response from Berlin, the economic crisis is getting worse. The U.S. accepts the Pritzwitz plan. Can we do anything about Black Monday? I would say not. Let's do... the German American Self Defense Association. Does it appear the Civil War in the United States and no, we'll do. I didn't want to hit that. We'll do Ostwahl. Orthodox syndicalist elected in France. So that means Leon Hohaux is the new leader. The Austrian Empire withdraws from Italy. Alright. New Wirtschaft. Having earned the attention of the public with his accurate prediction of the Black Monday stock market crash, Walter von Rathenau has not stopped there. Instead, in the aftermath of the Black Week and the onset of the greatest economic crisis Germany has faced since the Blitzkrieg, he has published an 11-page document for full-scale reform of the economic system. This document has proliferated across parties and major newspapers. Those well-read could tell that this document was a summary and somewhat modern implementation of Rathenau's ideas in his 1919 work, New Wirtschaft, the New Economy, and mirrors the economic reforms he's pursued during the Sulf and Erzberg government as Secretary of the Economy. A firm believer in his economic programs, Rathenau believes that Black Monday is the perfect opportunity to pursue a full economic reform. The powers of the government and economic management must be greatly expanded, and wartime offices for the control of the economic affairs and distribution of resources must be restored as permanent institutions. Rathenau sees economic planning as compatible with free market. State interventionism will be able to harmonize the market, prevent waste of the resources, and most importantly, combat the alienation of millions of factory workers employed in dull, mundane jobs across Germany. While he does not propose his economic program yet, Rathenau dreams of a utopia, classless society which will free workers from soulless labor. The mundanity of work can be resolved with socialist promises of wage raises or shorter hours. A complete restructuring is necessary through a panacea Arbeitslosigkeit, equalization of work. I completely butchered that one. Menial and mental workers would shift offices for factory and factories for offices a few hours every day, would be able to find their calling somewhere in a vast society of choice. Classes would dissolve, all work would be open according to talent, and mundanity of work would cease. But for now, economic planning will suffice. Interesting program. The SPD will earn 3 seats, and the LVP will earn 2, and we gain plus 25 political power. So he is a socialist thinker in his beliefs. We've got resignation of Reichskanzler Durkheim. It's been anticipated forever since last year, but it's finally arrived thanks to Black Monday market crash. Not only after the day in February, Reichskanzler Herbert von Durkheim announced his resignation, offering little comments to the press or to the members of the Reichstag. Though a competitive diplomat, Durkheim's composure and character of vain, pompous aristocrat has left him isolated in high politics, and he never managed to shake off the veneer of being a royal appointment, less legitimate than the partisan chancellors in the post-March German Empire. His vice-chancellor, Heinrich Brüning, refuses to seek the Kaiser's appointment as the next Reichschancellor. After the Black Monday crisis, the office became a poisoned chalice. Seeing a little initiative from the parties in the Reichstag, William II appointed the current Minister-President of Prussia, Siegfried von Roedern, as the new Reichskanzler, an elder civil servant with years of experience in the federal and Prussian governments alike. He currently heads a nonpartisan government of the center and the right in Prussia, staffed with right-wing politicians and nonpartisan professionals. Though his government is not planning to survive the April election, it has a lot on his plate regardless. Roedern's preference is to assemble a nonpartisan emergency cabinet staffed mainly by civil servants he relied upon in Prussia and promulgate emergency economic controls. This Prussian lockdown of the federal government is bound to go poorly with the states, however. An alternative approach would be to keep Brüning as vice-chancellor and work with the Reichstag. Brockendorf would forge a grand coalition after the dramatic 1924 elections, so perhaps Roedern can replicate the same feat. We can do Germany needs a responsible cabinet above party politics, and we appoint advisor Siegfried von Roedern with effects of negative 5% political power gain, 5% plus 5% stability, and plus 10% training time. The Social Conservative Party will now be called the Cabinet Roedern, March Coalition von Roederner's Cabinet, and we get political power plus 50, and a modern March leads to April or modify March leads to April by weekly stability plus 0.3, or perhaps Rotner can restore the Grand Coalition. We get the same effects, but the Social Conservative Party will now be called the Cabinet. Rotner, the same political power plus 50, and then the Social Liberals will join the coalition. So we get the LVP. Let's do Germany needs a responsible cabinet above party politics instead of the Grand Coalition. All right, and that also helps with not losing 0.5 stability a week. The illusion of Quinn hegemony shatters. It's the end of an era. And now we have mass layoffs. Awesome. By late February, the Reichsbank and the state institutions finally began making the first actions towards stabilizing the free fall markets. A bank holiday has been established, and emergency bailouts for the keystone banks that survived the initial crash have been sent out. Through all of the state's actions so far have been kept at a minimum, as the Reichstag remains deadlocked and the election is approaching soon. By now, however, the damage had already been done, with the financial sector crippled and the international economic system trembling. Demand for German exports has collapsed, and companies across Germany are forced to either declare insolvency or drastically cut costs. For almost all industries, that means relieving workers, many of them, and the number of unemployed who have been cast out to the streets is now in the millions. The Brewer-Wirth reforms in 1925 established a system of unemployment insurance for German workers, and so a meager pension allowed the unemployed to make ends meet somewhat. This was taxed the already struggling finances of the empire greatly. And in numerous cases, the impact of the crash has been a lot more tragic. Stock market brokers who had lost everything in the past few weeks, struggling artisans who had refined their humble career for decades and saw their life ambitions crash these days, all have taken a liking to ending their lives, and state police forces have been forced to patrol bridges more and more often. The government must intervene and do something. We gain base stability -8%. We lose two military factories and 2 civilian factories, and without a response, the economic crisis is getting worse. The DKAEB is on the verge of bankruptcy. All right. Founded in the early 20th century, the Deutsche Kaiserreich Eisenbahn is a holding company that oversees the railroad between Addis Ababa in Ethiopia and Djibouti. As a result of the German-backed expansion, the line is now used to transport ore from the Congo Basin to Djibouti. Yeah. The current economic downturn means that ore is not being bought at the same rate as before, resulting in fewer transports for the DKAEB. As a result, the DKAEB is struggling financially, and some board members have approached the German government in Dar es Salaam to sell their shares to the German government. Something has to be done to prevent Ethiopia from slipping out of our grasp. We can prop up the company, sell the government shares to Ethiopia, or isn't Middle Africa responsible for Middle African affairs? So the Middle Africa gets the event, Colonial Office refuses to engage. We can sell our government shares to Ethiopia, or we can prop up the company, which hurts our political power, but we get Colonial Office comes to a decision. Well, once we fix ourselves, it would be nice to have a ore train going to Djibouti. If I click on Middle Africa, I don't see anything for the so let's prop up the company. Outbreaks of anti-Semitic violence. The beginning of economic crisis sparked by the Black Monday market crash has given fuel to anti-Semitic agitation, and even the handful of outbreaks of violence across Germany and local legislatures, right-wing deputies, generally those who belong to the DVLP, have proposed taxation on Jewish businesses or boycotts of Jewish goods, while Jewish citizens in the cities have had to cope with suspicion and constant libel from right-wing newspapers. The Jewish population of Germany has historically been more integrated than their peers in the former Russian Empire, and had gifted Germany with numerous scientists, politicians, cultural figures, and war veterans. However, suspicion and mistreatment of them remains to this day. The Black Monday market crash was difficult to comprehend for many German citizens, and decades of propaganda espousing an international Jewish finance or conspiracy did not make it difficult for most downtrodden to connect these two events. Thus claiming that the German Jews were somehow responsible for the market crash, aggressive DVLP agitation during the 1936 electoral campaign, which often played upon these anti-Semitic fears, helped escalate them even further. The Jewish population is not completely helpless, however. Organizations such as the Central Vollen have constantly fought anti-Semitism in Germany through legal means, and they have already begun documenting and reporting instances of this outbreak while providing support for Jewish citizens who have been defamed or were injured by anti-Semitic attacks. This needs to be stopped. Game-based stability negative 3%, and national popularity change 2%. All right. The Angon Kling, or Angqing Kling, declared war on the left Kuomintang. The Angqing Kling clique declared war on the League of 8 Provinces. Marshal Wu backs Angqing. Alright. The formation of Ronaturn's nonpartisan government was taken as an affront by German numerous federal states, especially the South, Bavaria, Württemberg, and Baden, viewed the formation of government dominated by Prussian officials with extreme suspicion. Their government, led mainly by Zentrum and the LVP, also did not appreciate their respective parties being shut out of the government by the Reichschancellor. The result was that in Bucharest, the German upper house, composed of representatives of its member states, a hostile majority has formed against the Reichschancellor, composed of the southern states and numerous minority states who have joined in protest against the Reichschancellor. Though Zentrum and the LVP led the attacks against the Reichschancellor, it was the SPD who benefited in the election polls the most. Their campaign and the Reichstag delegation took advantage of the political drama to protest the bureaucratization of government and the growing trends of lacking Reichschancellor accountability to the Reichstag, which spells out the necessity for further democratic reforms in the empire. At this point, will we ever find a government come April? Negative 50% political power and negative 10% base stability. The SPD, Zentrum, and Gulf earn additional seats in the Reichstag election. Maybe I should not have chose the one I did. Zhang Qing Tinggao declared. Wu Peifu turned on us. Following the death of the League Marshal Sun Chufang, we had hoped that our ally in Beijing, Wu Peifu, would remain loyal to our interests. However, it seems that he's decided to turn on us and taken a publicly anti-concession stance. While this has bolstered support of his unpopular regime, it means that he has demanded that the Peking Commission, our lobbying arm in Beijing, leave the city. Facing massive riots outside the gates of their office, most members have fled to Tianjin. Our ambassadors have sent all non-essential staff to Tianjin as well, leaving a skeleton group of consular officials closely watched by Wu's forces. Damn him. Japanese troops garrison Tianjin, worrying to say the least. So the League of the 8 Provinces has abandoned us. So. All right. Or no, the Queen government is the one that I think abandoned us. Anyway, work creation plans in the ADGB. The economic crisis has sparked discussions within various ideological circles and associations. The traditional consensus among German economics has failed, or at least it is no longer trusted by the average worker and politician. Witnessing millions being thrown to the streets and dozens of banks collapse overnight, parties, associations, and trade unions look towards the government for potential salvation. That state intervention may help drive up demand and reinvigorate the economy during the financial cycle has been contemplated during the interwar period, and these ideas had only gained more traction since Black Monday. The Journal of the General German Trade Union Federation, Die Arbeit, has opened discussions of what they have named active economic policy after the publication of a political economic program by the trade unionists Fritz Tarnow and Fritz Bod. These plans, titled Tarnow-Bod Plan, have, after its creators, posits the creation of massive public works which could employ up to 1 million people across the empire, as well as tighten banking controls which will allow an extensive inflammatory policy According to Tarnow and Bod, working creation and fiscal inflation will provide relief for the poor and drive up demand, solving the downfall. Though the ADGB is closely allied with the SPD, the party has actually distanced itself from the Tarnow-Bod plan. Anton Valls and Rudolf Hilferdink have both criticized the ADGB for its direct intervention in politics, which should be delegated solely to the party, and for Tarnow and Bod's intention to play doctor at the bedside of capitalism. Undeterred, the trade unionists have been making waves across the press and the left, and under the surprising endorsement of Prussian Minister of War Kurt von Schleicher, who described work creation as the only way out of today's plights. Interesting. A negative 2% stability, and the SPD earns an additional seat. That is the finish of Ostwald, and the Central Rada seized power in West Ruthenia. With the German economic shaken by severe economic crisis, the repercussions were quickly felt in European hegemon's eastern satellites. Ruthenia, a small and young nation by the Russian border, was soon rocked by instability. After growing agitation from the radical leftist elements in the country, the army intervened and deposed the elected social democratic government. Radoslaw Ostrocki, a deputy in Right Ruthenia's legislation, was made interim president. With the remnants of the old government swept away, the Ostrocki consolidated power to run a new institution, the Central Rada, with himself as its chairman. So there you go. National focus. Do the Eastern Railway Plan, military mention to Central Asia, and new Eastern European Partnership. We can do this. We can do the second expedition into China. Wow, there's so much to do. So I'm just kind of reading through here, seeing what we can do. That will help us decrease world tension. Promote transatlantic trade. Let's do this. The German-American Self-Defense Association. It appears the Civil War in the United States is inevitable. Our last resort is to make sure that the socialists are suppressed by military forces. Through our contacts in German-American organizations, we can foster formation of loyalist self-defense militias, which will rise up for the anti-socialist forces in the war. The Americans get the German-American Self-Defense organizing during the American Civil War. Using the support Civil War faction decision, we will raise 3 German-American militia divisions with 6 infantry for their faction. Might be asking why am I not doing anything for the economic crash. I can't, there's no focus for me to do. So we've got the German agrarian crisis. The German agricultural sector, struggling for years at this point, has suffered greatly from the economic crisis sparked by Black Monday market crash. It's the latest step in the persistent decline of German agriculture ever since the late 19th century, the culmination of many years of inefficient and outdated methods, unfortunate global market developments installing poor future-oriented agrarian policies. Compared to its Western competitors such as Britain or the United States, German agriculture has consistently lagged behind in efficiency. 25% of all arable land across the empire is held by 0.2% of the land owners, most of which are operating in East Elbia. But since the late 20s, small and mid-sized farmers all across the nations have started to feel the effects of this looming efficiency crisis as well. Steady price erosions for agricultural goods due to cheaper competition from abroad and shriveling purchasing power have slowly led many farmers into the never-ending downward spiral of growing indebtedness. What can initially be battled via the reintroduction of protective tariffs and important quotas, undoubtedly a controversial policy instrument within Middle Europa, has at the end of the day only postponed the inevitable. With the collapse of the German banking sector, the looming crisis will soon aggravate, as many estates and enterprises which have relied on loans to stay afloat are bound to default on these in the near future, and the collapse in demand for agricultural goods could be the nail in the coffin. This initial substantial crisis has already begun to fuel the DKP electoral campaign and place the question of a dramatically different agricultural policy on the agenda. What may have seemed to be forgotten, though, is the fact that the Conservatives are partly responsible for themselves for this dilemma via their candidate in the Social Secretariat of Agricultural, Martin Schall, and his controversial agricultural policies during the last decade. For now, his political fate is on the knife's edge. The great Junker estates are a thing of the past. Lose 6 stability, lose 10% war support, lose 2 civilian factories, and without a response, the economic crisis is getting worse. Restoration of democracy in Australasia. The death of Pius XI. Sylvia Pankhurst elected chairwoman of the TUC. Oh yeah, look at that hairdo. Right there. That's what I want my government to look like. It says Gallo seizes control of Ecuador. Alright. City council elections in Berlin. In the terms of the incumbent mayor of Berlin, Henrik Somm, is set to expire, and a new election is thus slated to be held by Berlin City Council. A technocratic independent, Somm served as the mayor of several other cities in the past before moving to Berlin, and is generally supported by the local liberal and conservative deputies. The political upheaval after Black Monday gives an opportunity for the Berlin Social Democrats to win elections to the city council and appoint one of their own, Otto Ostrowitz, current mayor of the Prenzlauer Berg borough of Berlin. Ostrowitzki is seen as a member of the left-wing faction of the SPD, and a victory for him would signal a significant change in Berlin politics. It would also be a bellwether of the nation's turn to the left and empower socialist democratic activities in other cities. Because of this, the LVP and DKP have joined forces in Berlin, seeking to keep Somm in power and return a victory for the right in the center. Once the election comes and passes, the results is Henrik Somm wins another term. LVP, DKP, and minorities earn 2, 2, and 1 respectively. We will not be selling any of our Polish holdings, and we also will not... we might help the monarchy. Black, white, and red coalition formed. Reorganization is taking place among the German parties. As long suspected collaboration between the conservative agrarian DKP and the far right-wing DVLP has been officially announced by the chairman Kuno von Warstrup and Ulrich von Hassel. This agreement entails raising joint candidates in key constituencies and a joint candidate for the chancellor in the next Reichstag. Though no candidate has been named yet, several have been considered by the press, including Karl Friedrich Gordeler, Thilo von Wilmeski, Ewald von Kleschmenzen, and Walter von Kettel. In an official statement, both of the parties have described the alliance as a necessary measure to defend the German banner from ceaseless partisanship and societal decline. Reflected in the alliance name, Schwarz-Weiß, black, white, and red, the colors of the imperial flag. Full cooperation in the German right has been long anticipated by the SPD and the Democratic parties, though it has failed to materialize in the 20s and the early 30s due to issues between leadership and the overlapping voting blocks of the two parties. These hurdles appear to have been overcome, however, and a warring right-wing coalition appears imminent. All for renewing the German spirit. 5 for the DVLP and 3 for the DKP. Pius elected as the new Pope, or Pius the 12th. I don't think, yeah, that's the socialist Pope, ain't it? Nope. That was, one of these is considered the socialist Pope, I can't remember who, but that is the defend traditional value, so. And Qing took 7 states, the Mongan insurgency took 3, and the Nanjing clique has fallen. we can no longer do the second expedition in China. They now have the 9th International Congress. This is what Black Monday looks like now. All right, we got two. So let's see. This one was first. Hugenberg Group propaganda drive. The second chairman of the DVLP, below only Ulrich von Hassel. Alfred Hugenberg is one of the most important politicians in the party, though his position is largely symbolic. He commands a notable clique within the party and supports it through his considerable wealth and influence. A wealthy businessman and press baron, Hugenberg commands the so-called Hugenberg Group, a media empire commanding newspapers, publishers, and advertising agencies across the empire. Their papers sell hundreds of thousands of copies and hold considerable sway on public opinion. Of course, their articles are biased towards Hugenberg's preferred party and virtually despises both socialists and Jews. The 1936 electoral campaign has given the DVLP hope that they can position themselves as the leader of an all-right coalition in the Reichstag after the election, so the party's Central Committee has requested a mass propaganda drive from the second chairman, an aggressive promotion campaign for the Münchner Nachrichten and Der Tag expansion of the Telegraphian Union news agency, and promotion of their articles to more and more newspapers, perhaps even a few movie deals, all could serve to get the image of the party of Trippets out there. Where should the resources of the campaign be concentrated, however? Focusing on the illustrious Nachtengabe and cutting deals with urban newspapers will improve the DVLP's chance to win the middle class in the cities and cut down social democratic growth. On the other hand, the Telegraphian Union has fostered good relationships with the independent rural news outlets, and investing more in the relationship will aid the conservative cause in the Prussian countryside. We have a real chance of winning the urban districts, or invest more in the rural news outlets. So for this one, the DVLP will earn 5. The popularity of national populism is 2%, or plus 2% for both. But the DVLP will earn 5 additional seats. The far-right candidates will earn 2, and minor liberals will earn 2. Invest more in the rural. You get 5 for the DVLP, 3 for the DKP, and 1 for the agrarian candidates. So we're going to do with invest more in the rural news outlets. And on ecumenicism. Zentrums have seen better days. Since the end of the Weltkrieg, the party has helped form all 10 cabinets, whether to the left, right, or center, a strategy that has left it sorely unprepared for these times of polarization, as it now struggles to keep its voters away from the SPD, DVLP, and upstart agrarian parties. Under these conditions, the party ruling cadre has begun to waver. Zentrum's current chairman, Theodor von Gerard, has served for the last 5 years with an eye on managing the party's various factions, but he has indicated that should Zentrum be pushed from power in the coming election, he will retire from his position. News has put the entire party on maneuvers, and the first blow has come from the right flank. Henrik Held, the Bavarian minister-president, has published an article in the Königliche Volkszeitschrift on the part. I'm sorry, guys. Some of these are really hard for me to pronounce, so I will butcher them. On the party's future, in which he calls not only for a stronger commitment to regional and conservative issues, but for the party to reach out to Protestant voters willing to defend both. In the growing glovefold, Held revisits one of the party's most contentious debates. Over time, many rightists and trade unionists have entertained the idea of taking Zentrum out of the tower, transforming it from a purely Catholic party to an all-Christian people party. In their eyes, such a party could unite middle class, working class, and rural interests, and provide a bulwark against the growing left. Held remarks on Christian unity has been echoed by leading trade unionist Adam Sturgevald, whom many believe to be the frontrunner to succeed von Gerard. The party's progressivists watch these developments with concern. In recent years, the left flank have championed the Catholic nature of Zentrum out of the fear that Protestant voters would draw the party to the right, and indeed both Held and Sturgevald have suggested overtures to the DKP and even more rightward parties. The strongest rebuttal to Held's article has come from the leading Baden progressive Joseph Wirth, who argues that such adventures risk the party's position in the center and the trust of their Catholic electorate at a critical time. Whether Wirth's words will be heeded is an open question. This is not the time to expose ourselves to such risks. Zentrum has earned 5 additional seats, and the event will strengthen the left wing, or held has a point. The party must reach out from the tower to survive. They also gained 5 seats, but this strengthens the right wing. Let's go with the right wing. Continue on. All right. Romania nationalizes the oil field. After the complete crash of the oil lands lease company managing the Polizeti oil fields, Colonel's government proceeds to nationalize the assets of the bankrupt corporation. It is yet to another case of Romanian breaking the Bucharest Treaty, but there is little we can do to stop them. Neither does the public care much about the issue. If they think they can survive without Europa, so be it. We enact a trade embargo on Romania. With that, we can... I'm not worried about that. We can do this. Reinforcements to to East Asian regiments. 21 days. And then we can come up here. Oh, these that we already have looked at. We weren't going to choose. I think if all of these join up, we beat the left out. So, all right. Well, with that, that's going to be the end of episode 1. I hope you all have enjoyed, and I will see you all in the next episode.